I was 13 years old and I thought I was untouchable, a self-proclaimed mastermind of rebellion. I thought I knew exactly how to cheat the system, how to trade a day of excruciating boredom for a day of glorious, unsupervised freedom. I had the signed slip, the smirk, and the foolproof plan. I walked up to my teacher, Mrs. C, and handed her my rejection slip, ready for my victory lap. But when she took that paper, she didn't get angry. She didn't even look disappointed. She just gave me a quiet, knowing smile that was instantly terrifying. And then she delivered a sentence so perfect, so crushing, that it changed the trajectory of my entire life. She said, "Well, that is a real shame. Since you won't be on the bus, you'll be on your own field trip today. If you've ever had a plan that fell apart so spectacularly that you ended up serving justice to your own stupid, arrogant self, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because this isn't a story about a bad teacher. It's about the most brilliant, surgically precise revenge I've ever witnessed, and it was all thanks to my own colossal mistake. This is the story of the day I learned the true cost of opting out. To understand the brilliance of Mrs. C's move, you need to understand the broken girl I was that year. I was a 13-year-old girl in the deep, dark grip of grief. The year before, my mom, my anchor, my best friend, had been taken by cancer. Everything at home felt muted, gray, and fundamentally wrong. My dad was trying, bless his heart, but we were two satellites that had lost their son. I dealt with the pain by becoming anti-everything. Anti-school, anti-rules, anti-anything that required sincerity. I was smart. I was in the honors classes, the ones that gave me a twisted sense of superiority, but I was using that intelligence to build an armor of arrogance. My uniform wasn't cool band tees. It was a permanent scowl. My social studies teacher, Mrs. C, was the living embodiment of the boring establishment I hated. She was in her late 50s, wore sensible shoes, and spoke with a calm, measured voice that I found incredibly condescending. She seemed to float through the classroom, observing us with an unnerving, patient wisdom. I could practically hear the sound of her, judging my oversized flannel shirt and my deeply held conviction that the 1990s were the pinnacle of human culture. Mrs. C announced the honors field trip. It was supposed to be a special reward, a full day in the city to attend a performance of the symphony and the ballet. The ballet? The symphony? I might as well have been asked to write a 6-hour report on the tax code. It sounded like a meticulously planned assassination of my will to live. It was my duty, I decided, to sabotage this entire enterprise. My clique was small, but loyal. We were 4 girls who believed ourselves to be the elite rebels of the 8th grade. The moment Mrs. C handed out the permission slips, a single toxic idea bloomed in my mind. I pitched it to the girls with a conspiratorial whisper, my voice thick with false bravado. Why should we go? It's going to be 6 hours of torture. We should all get our parents to refuse permission. We'll be the only ones left, and they'll have to give us a free day. My friends, Sarah, Jenna, and Maya, were hesitant, but I wore them down. I played on the theme of sticking it to the man, promising them we'd have the whole school to ourselves. We sealed the pact, a 4-way handshake on our brilliant anti-establishment plan. My job was to secure the no. My father, God bless his grieving heart, was easily distracted. That morning, as he was rushing out the door, still half asleep, I slipped the permission form into his hand. "Dad, sign this." "Just a formality." Good. Keep walking. Don't read it. Don't look at the box that says, "I do not grant permission." I watched him scribble his signature and leave. I had done it. I had cheated the system. I had won. I arrived at school that morning practically vibrating with smug self-satisfaction. The bus was already idling outside. My crew, my fellow rebels, were supposed to be huddling with me, preparing for our glorious free day. Instead, I saw them. There was Sarah, holding a brightly colored sack lunch. There was Jenna, adjusting a slightly dressier jacket. And there was Maya, practically skipping up the steps. Every single one of them had a valid permission slip. My stomach plummeted, a nauseating freefall. They hadn't been able to fool their parents. Their parents had seen through the scheme, or more likely had just said, "No, you're going to this opportunity because it's good for you." My friends hadn't been rebels. They had just been temporarily polite. And I was the only fool standing there, the only student who had successfully conned her grieving father. I was completely, crushingly alone. Humiliation turned to pure, bitter adrenaline. I walked up to the line of students where Mrs. C was doing her final check. I handed her my single defiant slip of paper, signed with my father's hurried, unwitting hand. I tried to salvage some dignity. I gave her my best dramatic teenage disappointed shrug. "Guess I'm staying back, Mrs. C. Too bad." She looked down at the slip. Then she looked up at me. And that's when it happened. She didn't scold me. She didn't call my dad. She didn't make a scene. The corners of her mouth lifted into that terrifying, serene smile. "But as an honors student, you won't be wasting your day." She stepped to the side, and the line of my giggling, chatty former friends filed past me and onto the bus. The doors hissed shut. The engine rumbled. I felt a cold dread settle in my chest as Mrs. C placed a gentle but firm hand on my shoulder. "Your field trip will be more personal." She led me not to the normal detention room, not to the principal's office, but to the huge, beautiful, and utterly silent school library. She sat me at a solitary table facing a wall of dusty encyclopedias. "This is for 6 hours. You will write a detailed, comprehensive report on 6 hours of solitary work, right here. Your reward for opting out of a wonderful opportunity is the complete and total consequence of that choice. The stillness, the solitude, the boredom you were trying to escape." She left, and the silence swallowed me whole. That was the revenge. 6 solid hours of isolation. The only sounds were the whirring of the clock and the panicked, furious rhythm of my own heart. I could feel the clock hands creeping past 9, 10, 11. My classmates were seeing their first real ballet, witnessing a full, soaring symphony orchestra. They were sharing snacks, laughing, making memories that would last decades. And I was seeing the inside of a textbook, hating myself with an intensity I hadn't thought possible. I was bored, yes, but mostly I was ashamed. My mastermind plan had backfired into a brilliant lesson on accountability. Mrs. C hadn't punished me. She had simply ensured I experienced the maximum possible isolation and regret for choosing to forfeit a priceless opportunity. When the bus returned, there was an eruption of excited chatter. Everyone was talking about the music, the costumes, the sheer scale of the day. I was still sitting there, my report barely finished. I couldn't even bring myself to look up and ask my friends how it was. I was a ghost at my own feast. That was the last time I ever tried to cheat my way out of an experience. I'm in my 40s now, and I've still never been to the ballet or the symphony. That 6-hour library sentence still sticks in my mind as the day I foolishly chose to opt out of a great opportunity. A day where my grief and arrogance cost me something meaningful. Mrs. C's revenge wasn't cruel. It was brilliant. It was perfectly tailored to my ego. She didn't make me do extra work. She made me experience the most complete, boring, and isolated consequence of my own stupid decision. She taught me that sometimes the only thing worse than being forced to go to the ballet is realizing you chose to stay home. What do you think? Was Mrs. C a genius teacher or a cold-hearted warden? Was this the perfect lesson in karma? If this story gave you chills of recognition, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying, subtle act of justice you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this. We'll see you next time.